So here we have two problems. The first one is going to be a rational function, and it's asking us to find the vertical, horizontal asymptotes, if any exist. And there's a couple rules that go by this, and in this situation, this is the rule that applies. If n equals m, then you look at the coefficients. So we look at the exponents, the leading exponents, and 2 and 2 are the same, they equal each other, so you look at the coefficients, the leading ones, which would be 1 over 2. So that means the horizontal asymptote is going to equal y equals 1/2. Now to find the vertical asymptote, all you want to do is look at the bottom function and you're going to find the x values of that. So we have 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. And we could factor this and we would get 2x plus 1 and x minus 3. This would be x equals negative 1/2, and this would be x equals 3. So our vertical asymptotes are going to be x equals negative 1/2 and positive 3. So that's how you find the vertical and horizontal asymptotes. Now the next problem, we have a polynomial function, and we're told to graph the function, identify the degree, the leading coefficients, and the zeros. So to find the degree, you're going to want to look at the leading exponent, and it's going to be 3, the one in the front. You don't want to worry about the other ones. So the degree for this one is going to be 3 because it's the leading exponent. The leading coefficient is the first number in front of all of them, and since there's an imaginary 1, the leading coefficient would be 1. Now to find the zeros, we just have to find x values, and with this one, we could actually separate these two into different functions, and now we could factor both of them. So for the first part, we can take out an x squared, which will leave us with x minus 2. And the second, we could take out a negative 9, which will leave us with x minus 2. And you want these two to be the same. So now our two functions is going to be x minus 2 times x squared minus 9. And now we just continue to find x. So x would be 2 for this one. And then x squared equals 9. You move 9 to the other side. You're going to want to square root. And don't forget to do plus or minus. And the square root of 9 is going to be 3. So our zeros are going to be 2, negative 3, and positive 3. And now we come over to the graph, and we want to graph it. So we could place our zeros at negative 3, 2, and positive 3. And now you want to pay attention to the degree, and it tells us what the graph would look like. If the degree is an odd number, then it's going to either start at negative infinity and end at positive infinity, or it's going to start at negative infinity and start at negative infinity and at positive, or it's going to start at negative and end at negative 2. In this situation, the leading coefficient is it's not a negative, it's a positive number, so it's going to look like this. It would be flipped if it was a negative in front. And now what we want to do is pay attention to the multiplicities, and that determines if the graph is going to go through the point or if it's just going to touch the point and come back up. In this case, we could see that this is a 1 here and this is a 1 here. And almost forgot about this 0 right here. This still counts as a 0. This would be that. So there is another 0. And so since 3 is part of this and there's a multiplicity of 1, that means you're going to pass through it. So we're going to pass through this point, and the 0 has a square, so you're going to touch it like this, and the 2 has a 1, which means you're going to go through it, and then you're going to come through the 3 as well, because the 3 is still part of this and has a multiplicity of 1. So we could see here that it starts at negative infinity and ends at positive infinity. And always remember to look at the multiplicities. If the multiplicity is an odd number, like 1, then it's going through. If the multiplicity is an even number, like 2 or 4 or 6, then it's just going to touch it and come back through.